Hi, I'm David with EVWorld News. We're talking about electric vehicles, clean energy, and the stock markets. And I'm here today on a Friday with our resident engineer, Mike Herzog. How's it going, Mike?
Hey David, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, doing pretty good. Another summer day. Just look, I never know lately. We've had some days. There was one day it didn't get up to even 75.
Yeah. No,
And it was
it's
just like, what is this? It was like
today's just a
cold.
beautiful Midwest summer day, a little humidity, some sun. It's a good Friday.
It's shocking sometimes. Anyways, let's go ahead and let's start about this. Talk about our top article. California has too much power, and this wasn't meant to be like Gavin Newsom has too much power.
Yeah,
No,
that's not
th-
political power,
yeah, this is not
literal.
political power. This is electricity. So, Reuters reported California curtailed about 1.46 terawatt hours in April, roughly 18% of grid scale solar and wind generation. So essentially, 18% of all of that power they generated, they could not use. They,
That
they,
that number is crazy to me. I mean that is huge. And first thing that goes to my head, I wonder if that 18% is factored into their economics, of those projects. Of boy, if you're losing 18% of usable production off the top, like that's just got to kill it.
it makes me wonder. So, are they still like, let's say I'm a solar provider and they're giving me a nickel a kilowatt hour or whatever. Do I still get that? And they're just using that as part of their cost of infrastructure and transmission? I mean, they're already charging people ridiculous amounts,
Yeah. No, I mean
for
it's
some
most of those
stuff.
contracts. If it's a power purchase agreement, it's per energy sold, unit sold. So if it's not selling, they're not making money off of that. So yeah, it's those costs are baked into the energy costs. Now a lot of them will have minimum guarantees of like just so they can make the economics work, but that's a huge number. Now, to couch it a little bit with April's about the lowest usage month we have. I mean, if you think about it, it's spring, it's nice, the
That's
sun is
true.
shining fully, it's windy, but there's not a lot of, what do I want to say, AC demand. There's no heating demand. I mean, it's pretty calm from an energy standpoint. So that's about as bad as it's going to get, but still, that's a huge number.
I played a tennis tournament in Palm Springs a few years ago in March,
Mhm.
and it was like 70 degrees out, but it was so windy. It was so windy, you needed warmer clothing because the wind chill from, it was probably like a
Yeah.
30-mile-per-hour winds blowing. And they have all those wind turbines
Mhm,
that run
mhm.
all the way from Los Angeles all the way to Palm Springs, 2-hour drive. It's wind turbines everywhere catching
Yeah.
that wind. And it's not hard to,
But that's typically like light load period on the grid. Like the middle of the night in April is
yep.
about the lowest demand you have on the grid because it's for those like wind is blowing, people have their windows open, businesses aren't running. It's when the grid kind of craters out.
Yeah, and if anybody's wants a good business idea, I was telling Mike before the show. So if you're running Claude during U.S. business hours, it runs at a crawl because so much is used, and that's when this energy is really being generated. So you should set something up basically to sell compute power to Anthropic, and solve some of this because when the sun is shining, that's when their um, energy needs are the highest for powering their data centers, and and then you could use the rest of the wind and all that, so that there'd really be an opportunity there for that in California because that's really kind of funny because that data center compute usage for Anthropic definitely mirrors when the sun is shining
Yep,
or the wind is blowing. And
absolutely.
it's and then I can't think of really other than the fact that when it's hot outside and your air conditioner is really cranking, that's when solar is generally working well too, right?
Exactly.
Because when the
Yep.
sun is beaten down, that's when you need more AC, and
That's when
it's
you need
when
more AC.
the solar is
Mhm.
working. So
Yeah.
there's a couple of cases, I guess, for for that scenario. But I'm just saying it's just hard to fathom that that much energy went to waste. 18% of all the renewables go to waste because the energy demand
Yeah.
just isn't there when those are working.
And that's why storage is so critical in the industry right now, and why it's such a topic. And shoot, we talk about it every week. Seems like battery technology and how that's advancing, and just adding that stuff to the grid. Because just imagine if you could shift that 18% to whenever you need it and really pinpoint those things. I mean, that's a big deal. I'm shocked at that number. I think that's huge. A
It
couple of
is.
percent, 5%, but
We don't discuss terawatts on here.
yeah.
We discuss, megawatts and gigawatts, kilowatts. We don't discuss terawatts.
But that's what, a fifth, almost 20% of the energy produced was not at the right time when they needed it, which is wild. That's a horribly that's a staggering number in my head.
Somebody had called me last night and was telling me that somebody had filed a lawsuit against a major U.S. company with it had a T and the number. So it was like they were being sued for like 1.2 trillion
Trillion.
dollars. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. You can put whatever,
Put what, yeah, a
Yeah,
gazillion.
and
Yeah, you're suing it
yeah,
for a
and just
gazillion.
like,
Yeah.
if it was a B, it still seemed like it was a lot of money, right? And you start putting a trillion up there. I guess because now that, since Musk became a trillionaire, now it's cool to use trillions.
It's shifted the scale for everybody.
We always talk about how we've gone from megawatts to gigawatts on energy projects, and it's just like gigawatts is ridiculous amounts of energy,
Hmm.
and now we're talking a terawatt that got wasted. Yeah, it just seems
It's huge.
hard to fathom. But it's kind of segues right into my next article. So a company called Base Power just raised $1 billion at a $13 billion valuation to launch a U.S. made home battery company. Now, this is when I say a home battery, this is literally a battery storage for your home.
Mhm.
And so they're saying that their home batteries are being treated as grid assets.
Yep.
Yeah, and one this one bridges utility engineering, distributed storage, and investable energy trends. Um, so one of the things, like we're talking about the thing there with California, if everybody had, I don't know, what would be a reasonable battery pack for a house, you think? Um,
Five kilowatt hours, 10 kilowatt hours. I mean, that would cover most of what you need, when
yeah,
everything's said and done. So just 10's a good round number.
yeah. So if you had 10 kilowatts and you were able to energy arbitrage off of that by taking in some of that power and then selling it back, and let's say you made a nickel, that would be $15 a month, right?
Yep.
$180 a year. It's not a lot, but it also helps make sure you don't have
Mhm.
brownouts and
Oh
things
yeah.
like that, and the power is available when you need it.
Yeah, no, it's so there's federal regulation, FERC order 2222 2222. It's been on the books for a couple of years now, but it requires power markets to allow for the aggregation of smaller assets and bidding into the market. So that's been on the books to facilitate that, where it's, hey, normally the price of entry is about a megawatt. You need a megawatt to bid it into a market. So
Yeah.
you and me as individual homeowners, like, well, we're never going to get to a megawatt. But if you
Well,
and me and Bill and everybody else did this and somehow got up to a megawatt, we can actually bid that into the power market and make it available as an asset out there.
yeah, if there was a way to make that work and I could consistently arbitrage energy back in the Nebraska market, I'd have a megawatt. Fill my basement up with batteries.
There'd be a soft background hum coming from your
Yeah,
household.
you're right. The calming sound of batteries running. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, and I got some big transmission lines about 100 yards that way. So,
Yeah,
um,
but it's the point. It's where the industry has wanted to shift to that model, where it's you have people, they have a resiliency use, not just us, but I always go to Walmart as an example. Gosh, if every Walmart put up batteries and solar panels and had collective bidding into a power market, I think they could make a killing. I think they do real well.
um, The thing is when we talk about that size, and then you compare that car batteries run anywhere from 60 kilowatt hours to 100 kilowatt hours typically, unless you're getting into pickup trucks. Um, that's a lot of energy that you can vehicle to grid back and
Yeah.
forth in an arbitraging market. Um, I looked at this. Even we had somebody we were talking about boats with, and their boat had a 300 kilowatt hour battery, and I'm like, man, you could use that in California and energy arbitrage, just letting it sit there all the time,
Hmm.
because obviously people don't use their boat as much as they think they're going to. You know,
I'm
people
a
always
boat
think,
owner. I'm familiar. Yeah.
yeah, it sits a lot, right?
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there was grand ideas of spending weeks of the summer on a lake or at the ocean or something like
Then
that.
it's the realities of boat ownership sink in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. Anyways, it was just kind of interesting, all these little ideas of where you could help benefit the grid and energy storage, and make
Yeah.
things make
That's where
sense, right?
EVs are so fun in this space. And when I present on this of like grid impacts, uh, plugging an EV in at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when you get home, it's the double-edged sword. One, it's the worst possible time. We want stuff charging off of the grid. But gosh, if you have every EV plugged in at 5 o'clock and can use that as a resource, it's amazing. It's amazing what we could do with just the EVs out there.
Bill did a article on how charging hubs are getting more important. The chargers are becoming mini power plants,
Mhm.
and one of the things is a lot of the chargers now are starting to come with integrated storage, right, with battery
Yep.
storage, and so they'll have a fairly large battery so that when a busy time of the day comes around, they're not taxing the grid so much. They're taking power out of the battery,
Mhm.
charging up, when things are slow, and that helps. Because the battery can discharge power faster than um, other things into the car. And EVWorld highlights that future charging sites will integrate solar, battery storage, grid services, AI-driven energy management, and vehicle-to-grid capabilities. That's a much bigger concept than more plugs. Well, I don't know if you'd really want the charging location to have the vehicle to grid, because you wouldn't want I pull in to charge, the grid sucks the rest of my juice out, right?
Yeah, you didn't know what contract you signed up for. Sorry, but
You
that's
pull up to the megawatt power charger where you think you're going to get a 5 minute fill up, and it's like, why did that take 30 minutes? And
uh,
it's like it pulled the rest of your juice out, and then
before it put it back
what, they
in.
put it halfway back in, it took it again, you know kept snatching it back out because you're charging
Yeah,
at
I
4 in the
think
afternoon.
we look at those models stateside, very positive, but in developing countries, I think that's the model that needs to happen. I mean, put in a solar carport, put in a couple of micro wind turbines, some batteries, EV charging capabilities, and then those become resiliency hubs too, and just power generation, for neighborhoods that might not have had it.
I've been looking at energy producing streetlights,
Mhm.
and I've seen some designs, and I checked, and somebody has done it over in China, that where you got a little solar panel on there to power the light, with battery storage in the pole to
Mhm.
power the. Obviously, you don't need the light when the solar's charging, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But then it also has a wind sock that's spinning as well, and generating power from some kind of wind sock. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of covering all the
It's kind of
bases, right?
cool. It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I've even seen ideas of, you take that and then you put some computing power in there, and you link it by wireless, um, and you have that as every pole is now a little data center.
Every pole's a little processing data
Yeah.
center,
Yeah. So
self-powered process. Yeah,
yeah,
it's amazing.
I've seen some ideas on how to give cities and counties free um, streetlights in exchange for doing this.
For allowing them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
we're going to
essentially,
use that space. Yeah,
yeah, the municipality gets free, and they're not even having to there's no cost to the community to power them.
yeah, which is not an insignificant cost. street
Right.
lighting bills and municipal lighting. I mean, that adds up quite a bit.
Yeah, and I thought that's a pretty innovative thing. Not only are they getting free streetlights, but they're getting this too. On the flip side, it probably increases mass surveillance. All the ones that I saw in China also had surveillance
Also
cameras
had
on them
cameras
too.
on all of
Yeah, we don't really want to go. Here in the U.S., I already see all these people talking about the flock cameras. How everybody
them.
wants to have those banned,
Yeah, yeah.
and um, it's like, yeah, we're not really a country that really is into all this mass
The complete
surveillance.
surveillance state. That would be a state sponsored surveillance right there. That's
Yeah, yeah,
I
but
wish we'd see more and more of those kind of like modular packaged. You've got computing, you've got a little battery storage, you have a solar panel incorporated to it. I mean, you see it all the time, like construction sites, like
mhm.
road signs and little things. They all have a little tiny solar panel on top of them. So it's proven. It's a technology that's been out there for such a long time, but kind of the idea
I bet
of
those batteries are pretty
aggregating that.
small. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I mean, it's shoebox size solar,
right.
but that's all it needs. It just needs to control a little switch and a little communication hub there or whatever it is, and it works fine.
Yeah, no, I just it's interesting to see all these different ideas how it can do some of these things, but it makes a lot of sense that the charging hubs are going to have, like I said, bigger and bigger batteries that discharge more power
Yep.
quickly. Because especially we start talking about megawatt chargers, you're not going to be able to pipe that in from the grid directly into the car. So you've got to
No.
figure out a way to have that power stored right there on site, and that battery's 24 hours a day is recharging from something.
Yeah. Yep.
And a windsock can help with that, right?
Well, and
Some sort.
I wish we'd see more of that out there too. Tiny modular wind,
Mhm.
little vertical turbines, things like that. It seems like it would help, but maybe the economics really just aren't there yet. I don't know.
Well, another thing, I had somebody trying to tell me about some idea they had that was along those lines, and it's like, well, the only challenge with that is that one of the reasons the wind turbines you see are so tall is because the higher you go, the faster the wind blows.
Yep. And more
And
more predictable.
yeah,
It's constant and faster. Yep.
yeah, and so the idea of just having like something on top of your house may not be that great, but with the street light idea, you're still elevating it, you know, 20 feet up at
Yeah.
least, and then you
Well,
have
and
a
the idea is
windsock on
too,
top of
it's
that.
it's exposed. There's not a lot of wind blocking around that. It's out in the open. It's in street right of way and easement. It's by itself.
You know, there was I played tennis over at Tranquility Park. It's up at, near Maple,
Mhm.
120th and Maple.
Yep.
Anyways, the temperature when I got in my car said 100 was what it read sitting in the parking lot, and it's kind of what it's like on a hard tennis court when it's really sunny.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have the direct sunlight, all that. Um, but the actual temperature on my Apple Watch was 85. But I mean, that's a big difference in
Mhm.
temperature. The funny thing is, when I drove home to Papillion, the car had gone down from 100 to 90.
Just kept going down.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it was interesting that it was that much warmer over, you know,
Yeah.
on that side of town than
Just
it
a few
was.
miles, right? I mean, just
Yeah, I
not
mean,
not
we're
that
probably
far.
talking 12, 13
Yeah.
miles and made that big of a temperature change. But, anyways, let's see. So part of what the EVWorld article was talking about was the business model shifts from retail charging margins to multi-revenue energy hubs, demand management, grid services, on-site storage arbitrage, and possibly resilience services. I mean, one of the big things is you go from paying 12 cents a kilowatt hour to, maybe producing it for 4 or 5,
Hmm.
and something else. And so it makes having the chargers um, make financial sense a lot earlier in the process. I mean, that's one of the big things is up until I think it was last year, we didn't have any of the big EV charging companies ever turn a profit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
last year
I
was like
mean,
the
the
first year
margins are
that somebody did.
razor thin, tiny margins on those.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about Hungary. So Hungary has a nuclear cooling water problem, and they're signaling this as a giant warning for grid planners. Now, you and I talk about this a lot, and I saw a kind of an interesting thing a guy was putting on. It's like, oh yeah, we've had all these problems with nuclear reactors. We had a poorly designed reactor in Chernobyl that had problems back in the 1980s, right? You know,
Hmm.
and then we had a problem at 3 Mile Island that didn't end up
Doing
injuring
anything.
anybody.
Yeah.
Um, Fukushima, there was like one person died, and there was now in the tsunami, there was a lot of people died in that
Yeah, yeah.
situation, but it wasn't
It wasn't
anything
as
to
a
do with
result
the
of the
nuclear
nuclear
reactor.
plant. Yeah.
And you know, the nuclear or the radioactivity leaks weren't what people thought. Well, anyways, here we're going back to an old style nuclear reactor. This is probably an R, and I don't know what type it is. It's probably an RBMK or something like that, you know, that the
Hmm.
Russians made. But
If it's in Hungary, yeah.
yeah. Anyways, Reuters reported Hungary faced a potential shutdown or power down at the Pax nuclear plant as Danube water levels threatened cooling operations. Apparently, they're having a shortage of
Yeah.
water. Reuters also reported the plant later got a temporary reprieve, but the issue itself didn't disappear. This is what happens when climate variability hits physical infrastructure. Thermal limits, water availability, and baseload assumptions all get stress tested. Well, the funny thing about this is when we look at newer designs on reactors. Now, a lot of the ones going online right now are still light water reactors,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
they're still dependent on that. But when we start talking about Generation 4 reactors, they're not
The
dependent on
cooling
water.
requirement's not there, or the
Yeah,
water requirement, I should say.
yeah, yeah. They cool with something like molten lead or
Yeah.
molten salt or helium, you know, different things. But it's interesting because people are always still though. It's like, oh my God, this thing's going to melt down and blow up or whatever. They think it's going to spin out of control. There's going to be an
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
atomic explosion. Yeah.
Well, and that news from Hungary is not. I don't think that's super new. We where we're at, we have a now mothballed and deconstructed nuclear plant, but we had those issues from high water levels, low water levels, anything that requires water. I mean, you're watching river flows all the time, and understanding what that means. I mean, we're seeing it right now with what, like Lake Mead. It's
Hmm.
or Lake Powell, one of the two, is at lowest levels ever. And are they going to be able to run the turbines if it gets down to a certain point? I mean, it's a good note that that's a concern and out there, but I don't know if it's anything super new.
Are they not going to be able to power Las Vegas if the water level gets too low?
That's what the concern is. That's what the concern is. That it's if it gets too low, they can't run it. It actually gets below the level of the turbines.
It's always amazing how fast the Las Vegas community's grown in the last 30 years. You know, it's like, okay,
Mhm.
you're moving a place in the desert. More and more people are moving there. There's a water shortage and a power shortage, and people
But
just
just
assume
keep
that
going.
somebody's going to magically figure it out.
It's going to work itself out. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just kind of wonder. It's like, well, what's the extreme there, right? And you know, you just kind of wonder where that goes. All right, EV charging in China looks cheaper and easier than many Western drivers assume. A British family in China found public EV charging far cheaper and easier than expected at a mall. They topped from 70% to 100% in 20 minutes. Now, that's an unusual to do. I don't know why they would charge for
Why
that
they
unless
go
that's
up to
part of the rental
100%?
car obligation, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
they said it costs the equivalent of $2 with parking included. It
Well,
implies a
that's
con.
half the battle right there. If you get a parking spot, I mean,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah. It implies the conversation in China is increasingly about user experience and network density, not whether charging works at all. And that's the problem in the US is does the charger work?
When you pull up, is it actually going to work? Yeah.
Yeah. In China, they've made charging feel routine. The US challenge is not only hardware deployment, it's reliability, interoperability, siting, and operating model discipline. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Lucid delays its affordable EVs to the second half of 2027. Lucid pushed its affordable EV launch to second half from a planned rollout later this year as part of an operational reset. Lucid is prioritizing execution discipline and cost control over chasing a calendar promise. Well, that's a nice way of trying to say they just
We're
couldn't get it
behind
done, right?
schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the delay likely reflects the hard reality that scaling a lower cost platform demands manufacturing readiness, supply chain confidence, and quality stability, not just product ambition. Well, we'll see where Lucid gets. Um, there's always people saying, "Is Lucid going to go bankrupt?" And it's the one we always talk about. The
No.
Saudis own most of it, and it's
Uh,
like, they'll
I
just
think
take it
th-
back over.
they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay.
Yeah. Um, all right. So Tesla's July registrations across Europe were mixed, despite broader EV momentum. It's funny because they did really well in like Germany and some other countries,
Hmm.
in the bigger countries, but they didn't do so well in some of the smaller countries. And it's like, well, I don't know if it was like, how come we did write a hit piece on Tesla, not make it sound because Tesla hit new records, record sales, and the Model Y is the best
Yeah,
selling
the
car
Y
ever
Y
again.
took over the crown again,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's not the best selling. It's not just the best selling EV. It's the best
EV
selling
is
car. Period.
car, right?
Yeah.
Period.
Um, yeah. Let's see. Oh, I talked about this one a little bit. Tesla and SpaceX have been talking. There's been people are talking that maybe the two should merge. The
Hmm.
problem is Tesla is so rooted in China as their biggest market
Yeah,
that I don't see where that can happen unless they break the car portion of Tesla off from everything
from
else.
everything else they're doing.
Because they could certainly merge robotics and
The
grid
energy,
storage
yeah, the
and
storage division off. Mhm.
I don't maybe the insurance sales, the data sales,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I don't know, maybe all of that could shift over to SpaceX, but Tesla is always going to have its biggest sales spot. I mean, it's going to be in China for a long time, probably. I just don't see that changing.
Hmm.
All right. Um, so the word's now been leaked that Ford's new smaller pickup truck is going to be called the Fathom.
Fathom.
I guess because it goes underwater. I don't know. Anyways, um, Ford says the new Fathom truck will start at 29,945 with 200 miles of range, 2,000 pound payload, and 2,000 pounds of towing. I
Okay.
don't know how far you're going to tow that boat with 200-mile range.
Go fill it up with gas. That's for me. Just take it out of the lake, fill it up with gas, go put it back in. It's good enough.
And it's an important shift towards a work-focused, budget-conscious EV truck adoption instead of lifestyle luxury positioning. Well, all the Fords pretty much are more towards that luxury positioning because
Hmm.
they really you have the Ford Mustang is their only like
They're
car they
really
make anymore,
car anymore.
and
Yeah.
everything else is an SUV or a truck, and they're pushing that more towards the higher end of the market where they can have bigger. And I assume this
Oh, yeah.
Fathom is going to be a two-door truck, right? So,
That's what I have in my head. A new small truck is just a classic old two-door pickup.
um, although, oh, maybe it will be four. Here is
Oh, I want a bigger bed with a two-door,
yeah, that
not
makes
a
more sense.
four-door with a
Something
baby
more
bed.
useful. I don't know. This looks more like a take on the Maverick,
Maverick. It looks a lot
but
like
with
a
better
Maverick.
wheels. The Maverick has terrible. When you get the base model Maverick, they just have terrible wheels. These ones at least look nice, but I guess if they wanted to do something like this, they would. I'm pretty sure Bill generated this image
Because the
because
Papillion lumber.
Papillion Lumber and
That's, I
Building
just saw
Supply.
that too.
Papillion Lumber and Building. That's hilarious.
Yeah. I saw that too. And God, what are the odds? Like that's
Ford,
very,
Ford,
very
Ford brought a
convenient.
demo truck to Papillion and didn't tell us. Yeah.
Just
Um,
told Bill.
yeah. Um, all right. All right. So here's something on U.S. policy. So Polestar is leaving the U.S. after this year, showing how policy can remap the EV market. Um, Polestar will stop U.S. sales after 2026 because regulators classified it under rules targeting Chinese-controlled EV makers. Existing owners are expected to retain service, parts, warranties, and OTA support over the air, at least per the current understanding. This is a reminder that EV competition is no longer just product versus product, it's increasingly policy, supply chain, and national origin risk. I was reading a right-wing article on what's going on in Canada with the EVs. Have I told you about this? I don't
I
think I
haven't
have.
heard anything about it.
So what their angle was is Canada needs to not allow Chinese EVs in because they're basically Chinese surveillance vehicles.
Okay.
This was kind of thing. It's like, well, we know that as cars get more sophisticated, they're all gathering data for the
Yep.
manufacturers, okay? So they don't want the Chinese gathering data,
Mhm.
and I thought this was kind of an interesting argument. And then they're like, they shouldn't allow them to even bring them across the border, with their Canadian tags. And I think that's getting a little much. I don't know how much data is a car really gathering. It can gather temperature. It's like
I
how
think
powerful.
that I don't know how it works with like Apple CarPlay and the Google Android equivalent if it can read off of that. So if you hook your cell phone up to it, you're opening yourself up. That's the only piece I don't know. Otherwise, I mean, yeah, stuff GPS,
Yeah,
driving habits, temperature, where do you fill up, all of those things. I think it's more of whatever else gets attached to that too through your cell phone.
yeah, it does. I mean, I just don't know how useful that.
Well, I mean, from the perspective of like you can't even bring them across the border. Like, well, are they taking picture? I don't know. I don't know what a Canadian-owned vehicle with a Canadian driver coming across the border would actually do. If that would make any changes, or
No,
they'd
it's
be able to get anything.
kind of my thought. Some of it I think is a little much, but on the flip side, it's denying the U.S. consumer base from having cars that cost half as much. You really
Yeah,
want to solve car affordability? Let the Chinese come in without
let the
tariffs.
Chinese come in. Yep.
Yeah, or let them make them here. Um, but anyways, all right. Well, we've used up our time for today. Anyways, folks, I want to thank y'all for watching, and I'll be back on Tuesday with Bill and Mike, and I'll see you next Friday.
Sounds
Anyways,
like a
folks,
plan.
have a great day.